The elevator bell stops with a soft ding. The doors slide open. Zuri Lane stands in the rain-fogged hallway, a cold key in her hand. "That big woman still has no clue?" a man's voice says inside the apartment, like someone choking back a laugh. Zuri holds her breath, turns the key halfway. The door opens a crack. Philadelphia, Rittenhouse Square, late September. Rain drums on the glass. The TV is on but muted. Through the crack, Dorian Hale stands with his back to her, raising a glass of red wine. "It's done, Mom. Pulled it 3 days ago. 15,000. She didn't even check the statement." On the sofa, Gwen Hale sits straight, pearls catching warm light. "My smart son. I told you don't rush. She doesn't move to your rhythm." Zuri's breath catches. Part of her wants to storm in. The other part keeps her still in the steady rain sound. Dorian sets the glass down. "Filed on Tuesday. Shall get the papers in a week. Best part, everything's set. Raya moves into the new place next month." The name drops like a stone into a well. Zuri remembers the long site visits, the late texts. All the pieces line up, cold. Gwen tilts her head. "Raya fits you. Pretty, proper, no messy baggage. Especially not that baby obsession." Zuri's chest tightens. She remembers the shots, the doctor visits, and Dorian's hand always pulling away at the last minute. She held the home with silence. They read that silence as weakness. "Raya doesn't want kids," Dorian says. "No drama, no ties, just freedom." "You're your father's son," Gwen says, a soft clap. "You know how to fold a book closed on the right page." Zuri bites her lip. She looks at the hand that hung the frames and paid the bills. Her silence changes, meaning, not patience, now it's a switch. She narrows the door, shifts her view. Bank envelope, delivery slips, a pen with the cap off tidy like an approved floor plan. She whispers, "Fine, let order speak for me." Glasses clink. Let her pay a few bills and decorate. She thinks she's contributing. Dorian shrugs. "Women like that just need to be kept busy." Gwen answers. The words pop like black tacks. Zuri squeezes the key. The edge nicks her skin enough to stay sharp. She steps back and closes the door without a sound. Laughter inside. Only wet stone smell outside. Zuri passes a mirror. A pale face, eyes wide, mouth set. Not the morning woman anymore. Under the skin, a hard pencil line has been drawn. Straight, quiet, final. The elevator arrives. Zuri steps in and presses L. In the steel wall, she says, "Very small, I won't scream. Ill arrange." In the garage, rain beads into 1,000 dots. Yellow lights break like star maps. Her phone buzzes. The site visit is canceled. She opens, contacts and stops on Kiara Morgan. Esquire, her thumb rests a beat, then lifts. Through the glass, the apartment looks like a frozen drawing. Zuri counts to 10. At 7, she calls, "Kiara Morgan." The voice is calm and firm. "This is Zuri Lane," she says, hearing her name stand up straight. "I need to meet you tonight." "Okay, do not go back to the apartment. Bring bank statements, bills, contracts, and don't text him." "I understand." She hangs up. Don't text drops like the first brick in a new wall. She starts the car, glides past black umbrellas, tires cutting sheets of water. At a long red light, she leans back. One thought crosses her mind. Let the truth do the work. Night falls like a heavy cloth. Zuri drives along the Schuylkill, the water dark like a black mirror. She doesn't stop, just slows over the bridge and merges again. In her head, a new plan sketches itself. Pipes are money flows, windows are proof, the roof is a freeze order. Her next home won't hold secrets. Near West Philly, Zuri flips on the car light and pulls a box from the glove compartment. Bills, before, after photos, card receipts. She spreads them on her lap like broken tiles. The numbers connect. She snaps photos and emails herself. ZL, evidence 2019-2025. The screen flashes. 2 texts from Dorian. "Where are you? Come home. Mom's here." Zuri locks the screen. She turns onto the red brick street. Loretta Lane's porch light glows warm. The door opens before the bell. Loretta hands her a towel, touches her shoulder, no questions. Shower. It'll make tea. In her old room, Zuri turns the tap. Steam rises. In the mirror, her face looks drained, but there's a new straight line behind the eyes. The phone dings. Kiara's email, 8:30 p.m. Center City. Bring everything. Do not reply to his texts. Zuri clips each stack and labels them. Renovations, $42K. Statements, joint account, transfers notes. On the porch, rain taps gentle, the kettle hums steady, calm. Zuri opens her notebook and writes, "Don't smash. Just put things back in order." She closes it and hears the click of the binder clip. Her phone lights again. Temporary freeze order received, pending judge's signature. The corner of her mouth shifts, not a smile, just her weight moving to a better place. She pulls on a raincoat, slides the files into a bag, grabs her umbrella. At the door, Loretta hands her a thermos. "Ginger tea." Zuri nods and holds it like an anchor. She opens the umbrella. The alley is dark and wet with light. Zuri locks the gate and lifts her face for 1 second. Not a vow, just a decision. I will let the truth do the work. It'll only open doors at the right time. She steps into the night. On the way to Center City, headlights string together like a white line of text. Her phone buzzes. Friends ask, "You okay?" She types, "Okay." Redrawing. She sends it and smiles, not happy, but sure of direction. The night leans close. The rain ticks like a clock inside her chest. Garage under Kiara's building. The dash flips to 8:22. Zuri turns off the engine and listens to the rain thin out. In the quiet space, she speaks to steady her voice. Silence is an answer too this time, it's a warning. She takes her bag, locks the car, and steps into the wet stone lobby. The elevator doors close. Floor numbers climb. Zuri watches her reflection in the steel. A woman who smells like ginger tea, carrying a thick file, with a new kind of silence not bowed, but upright. The doors open to a bright hall. A text from Kiara, "Suite 1203. Zuri walks straight, hand on the bag's edge like checking a pulse. At 1203, she pauses half a second to remember. Before the threshold is the old life. After the door is the cold map. She raises her hand and knocks. And if you're hearing this story somewhere in the September rain, let Zuri know how long your road has been. Drop your city below. The door opens. A steady, low voice. "Zuri Lane." She lifts her head. "Yes. I'm ready." Kiara Morgan opens the door and steps aside. Room 1203 is calm. Soft lights, straight rows of files, a dark wood table with water and tissues. Zuri sets her document bag down like the first brick of a wall. Outside, the rain thins to fine lines on the glass. "We work in order," Kiara says, pulling a chair out for Zuri and sitting across from her. Her voice isn't harsh or sweet. It's steady like a metal ruler on a desk. First, the big picture. Then the money trail. Zuri nods. She opens the bag and lays out the stacks with labels. 6 years of bank statements, home repair bills $42,000, card receipts, contracts, before and after photos. Kiara puts on glasses, flips fast through pages, and marks lines with a highlighter like she's tracing a building plan. "I'm listening," Kiara says. Zuri tells the story of the night at Rittenhouse, the wine glass, the laughs, the name Raya dropping like a stone. The words Zuri once wanted to shout now come out in clear lines. Her hands shake once. Kiara slides the tissue box toward her and stays quiet. When Zuri finishes, Kiara closes the file. "You did the hard thing. You didn't confront them on the spot." She draws 3 columns on a sheet. "Our plan has 3 lanes: money, property, and story. Money, freeze the accounts tonight with a temporary order. Property, record your investment in the condo. Story, let the evidence speak." Zuri looks at the 3 columns and feels herself standing somewhere solid. What if he already moved some money? Kiara nods. Very likely. The freeze will lock the rest and force the bank to report unusual transfers. By morning, they must answer. "I want to smash everything," Zuri exhales. Kiara tilts her head, no judgment in her eyes. "Don't smash him, let the truth do the work." Each word lands upright between them. Zuri looks at the words and feels her body go quiet. Kiara drafts fast. A temporary restraining order. To freeze funds. An order to preserve evidence. Notices to the bank. Sign here and here. The pen moves and leaves clean ink lines. Her keyboard sounds like the rain. "Don't go back to the condo tonight," Kiara says. "Stay with your mom." Silence his notifications. "Tomorrow morning, go to the bank for stamped statements. Bring the remodel contract and photos." She closes the folder and stands. "I'll handle the rest." By the elevator, Zuri catches her reflection in the hallway glass, a woman holding files, shoulders still a little shaky. She takes a long breath and feels the ginger tea warming her chest. Don't smash. Set things back in order, she says softly. Outside, Philadelphia shakes off the rain. Zuri drives on wet streets. A quiet jazz trumpet plays on the radio. She slows down because everything inside her needs to be set down without breaking. At home, Loretta opens the door before the bell. Did you eat? Zuri shakes her head, hangs her raincoat, and puts the files on the table. Mint steam rises from the teapot and pushes back the chill. They eat hot soup. Loretta doesn't ask questions. While Zuri washes dishes, her phone buzzes. An auto-email freeze request received. Waiting for the night judge's signature. Zuri reads the line, and fear steps back half a pace. She files the email into a folder named Root Legal. That night, Zuri opens the evidence box and checks each piece like seams in a ceiling. Kitchen repair, $12,800. Steel aluminum windows, $7,600. Paint and labor, $9,200. AC service, $2,100. The numbers feel like screws, tightening a loose floor. She clips signed receipts and sticks a note. Photos on site. The clock strikes 12. Zuri bans the stack, turns off the light, and sets her phone to silent except Kiara's number. Her dream is a long staircase, each step a bill. She climbs, holding a ring heavy as wet stone. At the landing, a door closes very softly. She turns no one there, only a line in the air. Let the truth do the work. Morning brings coffee in the kitchen. Zuri wakes with her senses in the right places. She checks her phone. An email from the bank, the freeze is active, with a list of affected accounts. Her heart gives one low, firm knock. Not joy, proof the switch works. A text from Kiara. 9:30 meet at the branch. Get stamped statements. Don't go alone. I'll wait in the lobby. Loretta sets toast and a pear in front of her. Eat. Long road needs good shoes. Zuri smiles and slides a small checklist into her pen pouch. 7 tasks for the morning. She puts on a light jacket. The sky is sunnier than the forecast. The bank sits at Walnut and 18th. The lobby is bright with tile floors. Kiara stands by customer service, holding a clipboard. We need stamped statements from 2019 to today for this joint account, she tells the clerk, steady and professional. And a list of any transactions over $3,000 in the last 45 days. The clerk types and calls a manager. A woman with a name badge, Patrice Lawson, arrives. Kiara hands over the court order. Patrice reads, nods. Well, print those now. We can add notes on flagged unusual activity if needed. Zuri thanks her and sits on a cushioned chair, her palms cool. When they print, Kiara says softly, photograph and email them to the case address. Save them to a USB too. I'll file them tonight. The statements slide out like a white ribbon. The money path shows up. Paychecks, bills, and a sharp pin. $3,500 to an account under the name Raya Collins, exactly 5 days before the divorce filing. Zuri bends closer and says nothing. Kiara draws one small red mark in the margin. Small but heavy. Well, stamp every page, Patrice says, pressing the seal on each sheet. The thunk lands like a small hammer in steady rhythm. Kiara gathers and counts the corners. Thank you, Patrice. Patrice tilts her head. If you want, we can send a CSV file for cross-checking. They step outside. The fall air is drier. Kiara points to a cafe window. Let's review once more. By the glass, they spread the folder. Kiara draws a timeline. Remodel photo proof. Statements odd transfers. Message logs either deleted or blocked. Fewer emotional traces is better. I'll send formal notice to the other side after the order's been live 12 hours, Kiara says. All contact goes through lawyers. Don't text him. Don't post online. No hints. Zuri looks at the coffee surface and sees a small, still lake. What if he shows up here? Kiara meets her eyes. Stand up and walk out. Go straight. Don't argue. Any talk can be used against you. And remember, you don't have to prove how much you hurt. Zuri's phone buzzes. Unknown number. Zuri, I need to talk. She looks at Kiara. Block, Kiara says. Zuri blocks the call. Something light lifts off her chest. Kiara smiles for the first time since last night. Good. By noon, they're back at the office, scanning everything and saving it 3 ways: cloud, USB, hard drive. Kiara books an emergency court slot and emails the bank to send a tech representative. The first hearing will be quick, she says. But it sets the beat. Zuri leans back, a steady kind of tired spreading across her shoulders. She breathes. Rain comes back, tapping the wood porch roof like someone drumming on a time box lid. Zuri Lane stands in Loretta Lane's doorway, holding a thermos of ginger tea, listening for the smallest sound in the West Philly night. The street is asleep. The stamped bank statements are still warm in her bag, with Kiara Morgan's red line next to the $3,500 transfer to Raya Collins. That red line looks like a cut on a blueprint, thin, exact, impossible to argue with. Porch light gold, rain slanting. Loretta touches her daughter's shoulder and goes inside, leaving space for a breeze and a decision. Zuri clicks the gate lock and hears a soft snap. In her head, the words match the rain. Don't smash, let the truth do the work. An engine stops at the alley. Headlights sweep over the brick wall. A car door slams. Dorian Hale steps into the rain, dark shirt stuck to his skin, eyes burning in the shadows. He comes closer, breath cold, smelling like wine and wet asphalt. "You blocked me," he says, low but sharp. "Open the door. We need to talk." Zuri holds the thermos like a warm post. "No." Dorian climbs the steps. "You think you can freeze my accounts without telling me? Who pushed you, Kiara? You're playing with fire." "No," Zuri says, even and flat. "I moved the fire to the right place. Water runs off his hair." Dorian glances inside, where Loretta's shadow just passed. "Call your mom to judge if you're scared." "I'm not scared," Zuri says. "I just won't argue on my mother's porch." He shakes the gate. The lock rattles. "You're wrecking me, Zuri." "You wrecked yourself. I'm only putting things back fair." A thin flash of lightning. Dorian leans in, voice low. "I gave you a home, stability. You answer with papers in court? With 6 years of bills in my name," Zuri says. "With a new kitchen, new windows, and the nights I drew plans while you went out. I'm not opening the door tonight." Dorian grinds his teeth. "What do you want?" "Return what belongs to both of us. And leave this door." He laughs hard in the rain. "Raya isn't like you. She doesn't turn everything into a project. She doesn't demand." "Shall learn to count," Zuri says. When the bank sends the notices, something flickers in his eyes. Fear and surprise. He strikes where he always does. "You never gave me a child." The words drop heavy. Zuri sets the thermos on the rail so both hands are free. "Better no child than raising a thief," she says slowly. Upstairs, Loretta pauses, then stays quiet. The porch light brightens a notch, like a witness. Dorian steps back, then barks, "You'll regret this." "No," Zuri says, calm as still water. "You're already regretting it." Rain pops on the steps. A night bus passes the alley mouth. Dorian lowers his voice and pulls out his phone. "My mom Gwen is sick. You're putting my whole family in a bind." "Don't use illness as a shield," Zuri says. "I'll pay my part. The rest is you facing the truth." He pockets the phone. "Open up, Zuri. We settle this in private. I'll send you a portion." "No," she says, shaking her head. "No more deals in the dark. Only light and stamped pages." Dorian studies the lock, eyes shifting. He softens his tone. "Remember your first project? You were so scared you cried. I was there. On the day I installed the new windows, you were at the bar," Zuri says, lifting the thermos to breathe in the warm ginger. "Go home, Dorian." Headlights sweep by and stretch their shadows long. Dorian tightens like a wire about to snap. "Fine," he says. "Play by the rules. See you in court." "I'm already there," Zuri answers. From the moment I close that door, he stares at her for a long beat, waiting for a midnight miracle. Nothing comes. He turns, splashes through the puddles, slams the car door, starts the engine. The red taillights slide off like a smeared line of ink. Zuri stands still, listening as the rain fades from hard to soft. Her back loosens. Loretta opens the door and lays a shawl over her shoulders. "You're cold," she whispers. Zuri leans her cheek to her mother's shoulder for 1 second. "I'm not shaking anymore," she says. "Just lighter." Inside, she sets the thermos on the table and checks the file bag like a mason tapping bricks before the mortar dries. Loretta pours more hot water. "Tomorrow?" she asks. The bank will send the digital files. Kiara will file more papers and bring in a tech rep. Then the first hearing, Zuri says, glancing at the clock as the minute hand clicks one step. Everything will move into the voice of paper. And you? Loretta touches the back of her hand. I sleep, Zuri says, surprised the words sound true. Sleep so I can speak little and firm tomorrow. Loretta nods. I'll leave the porch light on. Night gathers. Zuri goes to her room and closes the curtains halfway, letting the rain's hush be the backdrop. She opens her notebook and writes, "Choose order, not noise." She folds it and lays it beside a small green USB, a tiny core full of truth. Her phone flashes. The court confirms the hearing time. She reads and breathes deep. Somewhere in the city, Dorian might be pounding a table. Here, only her hand lies flat on a page. Before turning off the light, Zuri looks at the porch. Warm glow, wet roof, gate locked, simple and smart. She whispers to no one, "I'm not out for revenge." Then she lets silence pour in warm like ginger tea, cold like a steel ruler, and strong enough to open a morning with sunlight and a courtroom where truth will stand up without shouting. On the table, the condo's before-after photos rest beside a red marker. Zuri lines them up by the build order. Kitchen, windows. Each page is a brick that speaks for her. She turns off the lamp, letting the night close like a file cover. Tomorrow, she'll walk into court with empty hands and a case full of truth. Morning opens with a rare, clear sky after days of rain, but the family court on Arch Street still feels cold white walls, long halls, shiny floors where any trace seems to slip away. Zuri Lane walks through security with a very neat file bag, 3 thin folders, a green USB, and the before-after photos. Kiara Morgan walks beside her, holding a hard case, her steps steady. At the end of the hall, the screen reads, "Hail, verse." Lane, hearing at 9:45. Inside the courtroom, wooden benches face each other. The air smells like varnish and AC. Judge Bernard King sits high at the bench, straight-backed, eyes quiet like a lake with no wind. Miss Tiana Ellis, the clerk, flips the calendar and gets her pen ready. Brandon Steele, in a light gray suit and dark blue tie, sets a thick stack of papers on the left table, where Dorian Hale sits stiff, fingers laced so tight his nails leave red marks. On the right, the table for the petitioner and lawyer, Zuri sits with calm shoulders, no makeup, and Kiara Morgan lines up a folder, her black pen resting on the edge. Calling the case, Miss, Ellis says, clear and crisp. Hale v. Lane. Dispute over shared property, request to freeze accounts, and to recognize investment in the home. Judge King looks at both sides, nods. Well, go in order. Bank records, property, then the parties speak. Miss Morgan, you may begin. Kiara stands, voice clean. Your Honor, this is financial abuse inside a family betrayal. My client, Zuri Lane, paid money and labor into the shared condo. At the same time, money was quietly pulled from the joint account right before the divorce filing. Yesterday, under a temporary order, the bank froze accounts in Dorian Hale's name. Today, we present proof of 1. Zuri's 6 years of deposits, 2. $42,000 in remodel bills for the condo, 3. A $3,500 transfer from Mr. Hale to Raya Collins 5 days before he filed showing money being moved out. Kiara places 3 folders on the evidence stand. Exhibit A, stamped statements. Exhibit B, contracts, bills, and before-after photos. Exhibit C, bank report on unusual activity with stamps. Patrice Lawson, the bank's rep, steps forward with a thin envelope. Kiara nods and adds it. Your Honor, the bank's technical representative, Patrice Lawson, is here to answer questions. Judge King opens Exhibit A, eyes moving like a work light across a plan. Stamps are in order. Miss Lawson, please be sworn. Miss Ellis reads the oath. Patrice answers, I do. Miss Lawson, Kiara says, slow and steady. The accounts ending 2,719 and 8,843 are the joint accounts of Zuri Lane and Dorian Hale, correct? Correct. In the 45 days before Mr. Anyone Again, now and Anyone Again and .com. Hale filed for divorce. Was there any single transaction over $3,000? Yes. One $3,500 transfer to Raya Collins. That transfer came from an account in Mr. Hale's name. Yes. Why did the bank flag it as unusual? Because it happened right before the filing and did not match normal spending patterns. Our system flagged it. No further questions, Kiara says. Brandon Steele stands, voice soft as silk. Your Honor, there is a good reason. That money was a deposit for independent design consulting, not hiding assets. Kiara tilts her head. We request the service contract to prove that. Steele smiles. We will submit it after this hearing. Judge King frowns. Mr. Steele, the court doesn't work on promises. He taps his pen. Proceed. Kiara moves to Exhibit B. Photos appear on the screen. The old kitchen-stained cabinets, beige wall, then the after-photo new counters, lights, steel aluminum windows. Contract with mill and beam construction. Kiara points. $12,800 for kitchen, $7,600 for windows, $9,200 for paint and labor, $2,100 for AC service, total $42,000, all paid from accounts in Zuri Lane's name. Work photos and completion slips match the bank statements. Patrice nods. Dates and amounts match. Judge King looks at Zuri. Miss Lane, do you confirm you paid and the work was done during the marriage? Zuri stands, hands together but steady. Yes, Your Honor. Also, Exhibit A shows deposits matching both parties' paychecks. Steele tries. We need a recess to Judge King cuts in. You had time to disclose. Request denied. Steele exhales and pivots. At least, my client gave stability a home. A family named Kiara lifts an eyebrow. Judge King gives him a look. The words die like a switch flipped off. Cross-exam time. Steele calls Zuri to the stand. She is sworn in. He starts sweet, measured, almost sugary. Miss Lane, isn't it true you controlled the condo for a long time? You decided the kitchen, the curtains even, forgive me your lifestyle? Zuri meets his eyes. I designed the space for both of us to live in. The bills are in my name because I paid them. Steele. Did you force Mr. Hale to follow your taste, Kiara? Objection argumentative. Judge King. Sustained. Steele flips a page. Did you ever stop Mr. Hale from making financial decisions? Zuri, a joint account needs both to agree. I didn't know about the $3,500 transfer to Raya Collins until the bank showed me. A faint rustle passes through the back row. Steele shifts. Did you ever threaten to leave if there was no child? Zuri holds still, voice calm. I hoped for a child. I did not use that as a weapon. And she pauses, eyes clear as tempered steel. Better to have no child than to raise a thief. Someone inhales. Miss Ellis looks up, then down to type. Steele sniffs, pretending to skip the line. You just used a harsh word, thief. Kiara steps in, latch perfect. We're being exact, secretly withdrawing from a joint account without consent, then transferring to Raya Collins right before filing. The legal label is for the court. Judge King leans back, notes something. Call Raya Collins, Steele says, trying for calm. The back door opens. Raya comes in. Black suit, hair in a bun, cheeks a little pale. She takes the stand and is sworn. Steele, gentle. Miss Collins, your relationship with Mr. Hale began after he separated from Miss Lane, right? Raya. Yes, after. Did you receive money from Mr. Hale? No. I mean, not like Kiara. May I cross? Kiara stops at Exhibit A. Miss Collins, on Thursday, 5 days before Mr. Hale filed, a $3,500 transfer went to an account named Raya Collins. Bank documents Exhibit A confirm this. Did you know about it? Raya squeezes her hands. I thought it was a deposit for a photo studio? Whose studio? His. He said to use my name for now. Why use your name? Raya flinches like her heel got tapped. He said it was easier. Easier for what, Miss Collins? Raya goes quiet, lips pressed. Kiara doesn't push. No further questions. Steele starts to object. Judge King raises a hand. Enough. Miss Collins, you may step down. A cold hush spreads. Gwen Hale sits in the back row, black dress, pearl necklace like a heavy metal. During the short break, she heads straight for Zuri in the hall. Kiara is talking with Patrice Lawson and stands a bit aside. Gwen leans in, smile dry as paper. Do you know why no one wants you for my son? Zuri waits, silent. Because you can't give him a child. A man needs a legacy. At the word legacy, Gwen's eyes flash with hate. Zuri breathes in, slow, and steadies her hand on the folder like touching a center post. She answers, each word neat. I'd rather not have a child than raise a thief. Gwen staggers half a step, as if someone quietly pulled the chair from behind. She swallows, says nothing, and turns away, heels ticking on stone. You okay? Kiara has returned. I'm okay, Zuri says, and to her surprise, her throat doesn't burn. Back in court, it's time for closing. Kiara speaks without raising her voice. Your Honor, my client asks for order, not mercy. The proof is here, with stamps and photos. In 6 years, she made real contributions, new kitchen, new windows, maintenance raising the value. When betrayed, she did not smash or shout. She used quiet strategy, called the bank, and used the law. We ask the court to recognize her payments as equitable reimbursement, rule that the joint account funds are marital property, and, for the secret withdrawal, order Mr. Hale to reimburse Miss Lane $93,000 per calculations by Marcus Holloway, independent accountant plus reasonable costs. Kiara files Marcus worksheet. The numbers stand like columns in a house: inputs, depreciation, added value, allocation. Steele rises, sighs. He knows he can't beat stamped records or real photos, so he reaches for the last sturdy chair feelings. Your Honor, his voice softens. My client is a husband who tried to keep stability in a difficult marriage. He worked long hours, carried burdens Miss Lane at times couldn't. He made mistakes, but his intent wasn't cruel. He is a man under pressure, feeling pushed out of his own home. Zuri stares forward, unblinking. Kiara says nothing. Sometimes silence lets an empty argument hit the wall by itself. Steele turns a page, deeper tone. About the $3,500, we will submit the service contract as soon as possible. As for the inheritance, my client lost a loved one, and through grief may not have kept the papers. Please consider his state of mind. Judge King leans back behind his glasses. This court weighs evidence, not stories. He closes the folder. Miss Lane, do you wish to say anything before the court takes the matter under advisement? Zuri stands. She doesn't look at Dorian, or at Gwen breathing hard behind him. She speaks to the cool air of the room. I'm not seeking revenge. I only want back what is ours. I worked, I paid, I believed in a home project he broke in silence. Today, I'm here to put things in order. Her voice doesn't shake. It's light like paper, but pressed like steel. Dorian leans forward, for the first time meeting her eyes. You're destroying me. Zuri doesn't answer. Her silence stands like a clean wall. Judge King nods. All right, he checks the clock. The court will recess for 15 minutes. Then I will read the preliminary decision. The gavel hits once. The sound ripples out, touches the walls, and fades. Zuri exhales. Kiara taps the table, drink water. Across the aisle, Dorian lowers his head, fingers gripping the chair edge. Brandon Steele whispers fast, eyes scanning for a legal exit that's already late. In the back, Gwen curls at the edge of her seat like a coat on the wrong hook. Raya Collins stands by the wall, staring at her hand's pale nail polish that suddenly feels pointless. Zuri walks into the hall, white walls, bright floor. People pass by, each holding a sky of their own. She leans a shoulder to a column. The silence inside her isn't a minefield anymore, it's a river surface. For a second, she hears her own heartbeat, not fast, not slow. I don't shout, I arrange, she thinks, and lets out one right-sized breath. Kiara brings a paper cup of water. You're good, she says, not waiting for an answer. When we go back, don't look at the back row. I won't, Zuri smiles, warmth returning to her lips. When the decision is read, Kiara lowers her voice. Do not react. No smile, no tears, just nod. The truth has done the work. The courtroom door opens. People flow in. Miss Ellis asks everyone to rise. Judge King takes the bench. Zuri sets her hand on the folder, fingertips cool, palm warm. Dorian lifts his head, eyes cloudy like rain glass. Steele straightens his tie, chin up. Gwen shrinks behind her son. Raya stays standing by the wall, eyes down. Judge King places the file in front of him and looks at the two people who once shared a home, a bed, and a bank account. He nods. The court has reviewed all evidence and testimony. He touches the folder's edge like a carpenter testing the grain before the cut. The room tightens to a single fine thread. Somewhere, the vent sighs. Miss Ellis' pen hangs above the page, ready to write the words that will close a chapter of life. The decision, Judge King says slowly, will be read now. Miss Tiana Ellis asks everyone to stand. Judge Bernard King returns to the bench, resting his hand on the case file like a carpenter testing wood before the cut. The room grows so quiet you can hear the soft breath of the AC. He looks straight at both sides, his voice low and flat, like a table freshly sanded. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, he says, pausing on purpose, the court finds, the money saved in the joint account is marital property, the remodel work worth $42,000, paid by Zuri Lane, increased the value of the shared property, and is recorded. The defendant, Dorian Hale, made an unusual $3,500 transfer to Raya Collins during the pre-filing period, with no service contract attached. Therefore, the court keeps the freeze order and orders the defendant to reimburse $93,000 to the petitioner, covering the joint savings share and Zuri's investment in the condo. Court costs are split by fault. This ruling is temporary and takes effect now. A rustle moves through the benches like a big page turning. Brandon Steele hesitates, then looks down to write, his face losing its anchor. Dorian sinks back, his eye sockets hollow. Gwen Hale freezes like someone just pulled the chair from under her. Raya Collins stands by the wall, hands clasped, pale nail polish still showing. The parties may appeal by procedure, Judge King goes on. For now, the court asks the bank representative to carry out the order within 14 days. He strikes the gavel once. The sound is round and clean. Kiara Morgan taps Zuri's table-edge nod. Zuri nods. No smile, no tears. Just one deep breath, like laying the last brick in her own project. In the hall, noonlight falls through tall glass. Kiara takes an envelope from Patrice Lawson, checks the fresh red seal. 14 days. Kiara reminds. During that time, all contact from their side goes through me. Zuri nods. At the far end, Dorian leans on a wall, making a tight, angry call. Gwen sweeps past, pearls flashing like an old scene trying to stay in the present. Raya walks over and stops 2 steps away. I am sorry, she says softly, her eyes not looking for mercy so much as a place to put a crooked memory back. Zuri studies her a beat and sees youth and choices, sometimes the wrong kind, on that face. Let the truth fix it, Zuri says, and don't lend your name to anyone again. Raya nods, bites her lip, backs away. On the front steps, fall air is dry and bright. Red maple leaves pour onto the stone like commas placed in the right spots. Kiara opens her laptop, sends a deadline email to the other side, CCs the bank, and attaches scans with wet stamps. This afternoon I'll file the summary order in the system, she says. Go rest. No posts, no hints. Let the papers work. Zuri walks down the stairs, her hand on the cool rail. Her palm warms, not from sun, but because a weight has slid off her shoulders. She remembers the rainy night on her mother's steps, the cold key, the ginger tea, and the words she told the mirror. I won't shout, I'll arrange. Now the order stands in a straight line, like a steel ruler. By late day, Zuri is back in West Philly. Loretta Lane sets a hot pot of soup on the table. Eat first, she says, short and gentle, like a kind order. Zuri retells only a few lines, not feelings, just numbers and stamps, like an engineer checking a finished job. Loretta ladles one more bowl. Good, she nods. Tonight you sleep like someone with nothing to do. The line makes Zuri laugh for the first time in weeks, a small laugh with a solid floor under it. Her phone buzzes. An auto email from the bank. Court ruling recorded. Tentative disbursement schedule. Zuri forwards it to Kiara with one line. Thank you. Kiara replies with a thumbs up, short, neat, her style. Dusk drops low. Zuri goes to the porch and sits on the wooden step, looking at the small gate plain as a finished drawing. The alley is quiet. Far away, a train sighs on a bridge. She opens her notebook. No one wins a broken marriage. There's only the person who brings back her part. She adds, and puts it in the right drawer. Footsteps stop at the gate. Dorian. No rush, no yelling. His eyes look tired, like a sleepless night. I just want to say one thing. Zuri doesn't open the gate. Say it. Hez, holding a small velvet box. A silver ring edge shows. "I'm returning this," he says. "The rest, I'll figure out." Zuri looks at the wedding ring in the box like a coin that lost its magic. "Keep it," she says. "It fits your story better." Dorian is silent for a beat, then shuts the box and pockets it. "I thought you would be different," he says, more worn out than angry. "I've always been like this," Zuri answers. "I just wasn't standing in the right place before." Gwen appears behind him, holding his arm. She almost speaks, then doesn't. Her eyes scan the wooden porch, Loretta's house slippers, the ginger tea thermos, ordinary things, but disciplined. Zuri notices not only anger at Gwen's eyes, but a dark circle of private defeat, the defeat of a long story that flips its own ending. "Let's go," Gwen says, voice rough. Dorian turns away. Before he steps off, he pauses. "Do you need anything?" The question is clumsy, like an old bent nail. Zuri shakes her head. "I need quiet so I can work." When their two backs fade, Loretta opens the door with 2 cups. "Tea gets cold fast," she says, sitting beside her daughter. "Tell me what's not in the papers." Zuri is silent, then shares. One clean gavel hit, one moment of seeing herself in the courtroom glass, one instant when she heard 93,000 and felt no joy, only its time. Loretta listens, no interruptions, like hearing the time-keeping music of a house. That night, Zuri's phone lights up. A text from an unknown number. "Miss Zuri, we're home and hands. Miss Kiara referred you. We'd like to partner on low-cost interior rehab for women leaving financial abuse. Interested?" Zuri reads slowly. Her heart doesn't race, but opens like a new window being set in its frame. She replies, "Yes, let's set a time." Then she sends a photo of her finished kitchen as a wordless intro. Night settles, house sounds, spoons on bowls, water in the kettle, light steps on wood. Zuri goes to her room, takes out the green USB, and sets it by her notebook. On her laptop, she renames a folder, Root Legal, Closed. The screen reflects her face, the same woman, but with the fog cleared from her eyes. Before lights out, she opens the before-after photos again, not to remember Dorian, but to remember herself, the one who moved brick by brick, changed the light, and chose order. She sets one photo on the desk and thinks about tomorrow. First, stop by the bank to sign the payout schedule. Second, check a floor plan for Root, a little corner space sitting empty on Baltimore Avenue. She saves her calendar and closes the notebook. If you've come this far, whether you're in a loud city or a quiet town, tell Zuri where this story met you. Drop your city in the comments. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. And if this family betrayal touched a hidden wire in you, a heart emoji is enough the rest. Let the truth do its work. Outside, fall wind runs along the wall, carrying the dry smell of leaves and a new kind of order. Inside, Zuri turns off the light. The dark isn't a hole anymore. It's a rest before the next picture is painted. On the desk edge, the green USB sits small, neat, complete like proof of one rule. Silence can be the loudest voice when it walks with red stamps and steady patience. Morning lays a thin coat of sun on the city, like primer paint. Zuri Lane wakes early, puts the green USB and the stamped statements into the drawer labeled Root Legal Closed, and shuts it like sealing a crack. Today has 2 tasks. Meet the group Home in Hands and tour a small space on Baltimore Ave for Root. She makes coffee and listens to the spoon tap the cup. The light feeling in her shoulders is still there. It isn't a fake high after a win. Loretta Lane sets a basket of oranges on the table. "Take these. Workrooms are always missing a fresh smell," her mother says. Zuri ties her hair, puts on a pressed white shirt, and slips a red marker into her bag. That pen isn't only for notes, it's a ritual now. Every decision should leave ink. The meeting at Home in Hands is in a bright room with photos of small kitchens after repairs. The coordinator, Monique, shakes her hand, voice quick and clear. "We have 12 units to revive for women leaving financial abuse. Budget is tight, but we believe in humane design." Zuri opens her notebook and listens. Swollen floors, narrow kitchens, stuck windows, and one wish repeated the smell of a real home. She suggests recycled modular cabinets, low-odor water-based paint, long LED strips to save power, and open shelves so hands remember where things go. Monique nods. We need one sample project in 2 weeks. Zuri closes the notebook. I'll take it. On the front steps, Zuri breathes deep. Her phone shows 11:45 time to see the space. On the way to Baltimore Ave, she stops at a corner cafe. Jalen Carter is already there, camera hanging loose. 2 lattes on the table. Congrats, he says, no fuss. No fireworks, Zuri answers. Just paperwork. Jalen smiles. Good paperwork is grown-up fireworks. Did you bring a mental power drill? She laughs. His jokes never cross the line. He pulls a black and white photo from his bag. A steel frame window with raindrops like music notes. For you, he says. Some days, light has to take the long way around. Zuri slides it into her folder. Inside her chest, a window also closes to the draft. The Baltimore Ave space is a bright corner with high ceilings, raw brick, and windows facing the tracks. Ava Jenkins' Zuri's teammate waits with a tape measure, hair up. Good rent, Ava says. Cons. Bathroom needs a full swap, old wiring. Pros. Location, glass front, storage. Zuri walks the room and draws on the print with her red pen. A welcome desk near the door. Fabric racks along the left wall, long lights overhead, a consult counter in the sunny corner, and one wall for Jalen's photo, she adds. Ava grins. Root finally gets a story wall. When the landlord leaves, Zuri stands in the empty room. A familiar wave rises fast heart, tight chest. Old panic taps her breastbone. She presses a hand to the brick ledge and counts 4, 7, 8 like Kiara taught her. Inhale 4, hold 7, exhale 8. A train screeches by, shaking the glass. The wave pulls back. Zuri opens her eyes and sees Jalen outside the window. He doesn't ask anything, just holds up 2 fingers. 2 minutes of breathing. She nods. Inside, she feels as light as a thread pulled from a knot. In the afternoon, an email from Brandon Steele slides in. A request to renegotiate the payout schedule with a hint to swap to household goods, not cash. Kiara Morgan answers for her. No. Follow the court order. All contact through our office. Zuri adds one line. Do not come to my home or workplace. Kiara attaches a trespass warning. Send is clicked. The matter leaves her hands and enters the stamped system. For the rest of the day, Root surveys the sample case for home and hands. A 3rd-floor studio with yellowed walls and moldy windows. The tenant is a woman named Carmen, about 40, voice rough from lost sleep. I just want a spot for a kettle that doesn't bump into memories, she says. Zuri measures the counter 1,200 millimeters and suggests rubberwood, open shelves, and dim pear-shaped bulbs. Ava runs quick numbers for materials. Jalen asks to shoot a few before frames angled light, an empty bed frame, a pair of slippers turned the wrong way. Well, start Saturday, Zuri says. Carmen nods. Her eyes are wet, but her back is straighter as she folds a worn dish towel. Outside the old building, the sky is red gold. Zuri stands on the spiral iron stairs and looks down the narrow alley. Her phone buzzes. The bank confirms day 14 disbursement timing with transfer details attached. She forwards it to Kiara and files it away. In her folder, Jalen's photo sits beside the red pen. The light is taking the long route, yes, but it's arriving. That evening at Loretta's table, Zuri folds the lease. Sign? Ava asks on video. Sign, Zuri says, hand steady. Ava holds up the screen with the e-signature and beams. Jalen texts, I'll hang the photo tomorrow. Zuri replies, leave the hammer at the studio. Loretta ladles more soup. The spoon taps the bowl with a small warm sound. Eat! Well, plan the shop after. Strength is the foundation, her mother says. Night falls. The block goes quiet. Zuri leaves a slit in the curtain so the streetlight brushes the wall. She writes in her notebook, after family betrayal, order is a kind of light. She takes off her bracelet and turns off the lamp. In the dark, her heartbeat does not fight the hum of the AC. A new room is waiting. A new season is coming in. She touches the drawer with the green USB doesn't open. It just feels its weight, fitting her palm. Enough. Tomorrow she'll turn the studio key for the first time, sweep the dust, and set a small sign on the counter. Open lowercase. No exclamation point. The way a grown person says good morning to herself. In the corner, the tool bag rests against the wall. A train slips farther away, and in the smell of the oranges her mother sent, Zuri understands. Peace isn't loud, but it knows how to stand. The first morning inside Root Studio smells like new wood. A train screeches past the metal window frame. Sunlight leans across the rough brick wall, laying soft yellow lines like paint on a canvas. Zuri Lane unlocks the door. The key clicks, small sound, big meaning, a new chapter. Inside, Ava Jenkins is marking the wall with a tape measure. Jalen Carter sets up his camera in the corner. The little open sign hangs a bit crooked, like it's waiting for a hand to fix it. "Leave it," Zuri says with a new, easy breath. The tilt shows a real person hung it. Jalen laughs. "A studio with a human touch. I like that." The opening is simple. Just 3 people, a thermos of ginger tea from Loretta, and a task list on a whiteboard. "First," Zuri says, "we finish Carmen's apartment in 2 weeks. Then we file Root's city paperwork." Ava writes fast, neat curves that hold firm. 10:30 a.m. The door opens to the first visitor. A middle-aged woman steps in holding a Home and Hands flyer. "I heard you fix homes for people who need a fresh start," she says. "Yes," Zuri answers, "and we don't ask too many questions." The woman leaves her number and dips her head, eyes holding both shyness and hope. When she leaves, Ava watches. "Did you notice?" They walk softly, like they might wake someone. Zuri nods. They lived in homes where only held breath made noise. By noon, Jalen finishes the before photos. Light through glass turns into a quiet talk between materials and people. "You know," he says while packing up, "this light is like truth, it doesn't explode. It just shines when we're ready to look." Zuri stares out the window. Maybe Root is like that too. In the afternoon, Loretta drops by with a basket of oranges and a bundle of dried lavender. "Put it anywhere," she says, "as long as it doesn't cover an outlet." Ava laughs. Zuri hugs her mom. The old oil smell mixes with new wood. "I'm building a home again," Zuri says, "but this time no one else needs to sign." Loretta smiles. Build so others see the door open and aren't scared to step in. After Loretta leaves, Zuri's phone buzzes. An email from Kiara Morgan is greater than subject Hale v. Lane. Final settlement executed. Is greater than body. Transfer complete. Case officially closed. Zuri reads it and feels a quiet spread order finished. She forwards it to Loretta. "Mom." File closed. Loretta replies with, That evening, the team returns to Carmen's apartment to measure the last wall. Rain just stopped. Wet streets mirror car lights. Carmen opens the door, voice lighter than before. "I cleared some old boxes yesterday. Found a photo I thought I'd never look at again." Zuri takes it, a small kitchen, weak light, a woman's hand stirring a pot. "Keep it," Zuri says. "The photo isn't wrong. It's just old light. While they work, a train passes." Ava says, "It comes the same time every night." Jalen checks his watch. 9:15. "It's the city's heartbeat," Zuri adds. "And the heartbeat of people trying again." Before they leave, Carmen hands Zuri a paper bag. "Some new cups. I don't need them." "Take them." Zuri gently refuses. "Keep them." Sometimes a cup knows more than we think. Carmen laughs, a shaky but true smile. The next morning, Root hosts a Home and Hands film crew. The host asks Zuri, "How long did it take to start again?" Zuri thinks. 6 years, 2 months, 19 days, and 1 morning when silence stopped being scary. The camera pans over the brick wall and rests on the open sign. "Why not uppercase?" the cameraman asks. "Because starting over doesn't need yelling," Zuri says. "It just needs to be sure." When the interview ends, Zuri sits in the quiet studio. Evening light pours through the window onto Jalen's black and white photo. She touches the glass. From the doorway, Jalen calls, "I sent a new print with the Root logo. Soft typeface." He holds a tube. "Hang it?" "Wait," Zuri says. "Let me square the frame." She tightens the screws and hangs the new logo. Root, a home reborn, a light restored. Jalen steps back and snaps a shot. "Done. I'll print brochures tomorrow." He looks around. "Feel how the air is different." "Different how?" "The silence in the walls," he says. Before, silence meant fear. Now it means rest. Zuri smiles. Maybe Root was born to teach silence where to stand. That night, after Jalen leaves, Zuri updates the whiteboard. She adds a last line. Design for people who had their space taken. Under it, in small letters. Not just rooms, hearts. A few days later, Ava brings a new client, a young woman named Tanisha, who just left her husband and needs a temporary place. Tanisha speaks softly, holding a cracked ceramic mug. I just want a spot for my cup where I won't be scared someone will throw it. Zuri studies the mug, its break lines filled with gold glue. Kintsugi, she says. Fix the break with something brighter. Tanisha asks. That's Japanese art, right? It's a way to live. Zuri smiles. Root is like that too. That afternoon, after Tanisha leaves, Jalen hangs a new photo. A finished kitchen glowing soft white cabinets, window open. Carmen cried when she saw it, he says. Not sad tears. She remembered the first night she turned the light on by herself. Zuri nods. She understands. Every bright room starts because someone dared to walk through the dark. Late night, Loretta calls. Dinner at home? Tomorrow, Mom, Zuri says. One last shelf to glue. I know, Loretta laughs, but remember, light doesn't need an audience to shine. Zuri ends the call and sits on the wood floor. In the quiet, she hears Ava drive the last nail tap, tap, stop. The room holds its breath for a breeze. Outside, a night train rattles the window. Zuri closes her eyes and listens like it's an old song. She opens her notebook and writes, is greater than A. Home isn't a place to hide from wind. It's where we learn to let wind pass without killing the light. The page trembles with the train's rhythm. She dots a small circle in red, the root mark. 2 weeks later, Carmen's apartment is done. When Root hands over the key, Carmen cries, Now I believe people can return from the broken. Zuri rests a hand on her shoulder. We don't go back, we keep going. On a clean base, Jalen takes one last photo. 2 women stand by a fresh-painted wall under a small handwritten sign. Begin again. That shot later appears in the Home and Hands promo. Zuri's voice closes the video. Is greater than. Every time you set a brick back in place, you rebuild yourself. Night. Root's door shuts. The studio light spills onto the sidewalk like a small promise. Zuri tapes one last line on the board. Project #2. Light for people not ready to switch it on yet. She turns, flips the switch, locks up. On the glass, Open reflects her shadow tilted just right, like that very first morning. If you've listened this far, pause and think, in your life, what shape does Root have? A room, a kitchen corner, or a silence that changed its light? Tell Zuri in the comments, and hit subscribe, because next chapter shows how a crack becomes a window when family betrayal is not a period, but the blueprint for a real beginning. 6 months have passed since the small open sign went up on Root Studios' glass door. Baltimore Ave changed seasons. Red leaves fell, branches went bare, then green leaves came back. Inside the tall ceiling corner space, Zuri Lane's life changed too. Not loud, but steady, like a good primer coat. That morning, Zuri opened early. Late winter air in West Philly smelled like cold metal with a hint of coffee from the corner shop. She turned on the lights and walked slowly around. Her hand on the varnished wood counter, she finished herself. The Root. A home reborn. A light-restored logo, straightened. The dried lavender from Loretta gently fluffed. The whiteboard wasn't empty anymore, full of client names and appointments. Beside it were short lines that women who walked through the door had written for themselves. This home is mine. My money isn't a secret anymore. I'm not asking to stay. I choose to stay with myself. Zuri picked up a red marker and added a small line in the corner. Today. Workshop. Redesign your space. Rewrite yourself. Ava Jenkins rushed in with an armful of floral fabric, out of breath. I grabbed discount swatches. Women leaving bad husbands shouldn't pay extra just for curtains. Zuri smiled. They do need curtains that won't wake up old nightmares. Jalen Carter peeked in with his camera already on his neck. Are we filming a doc or a social video today? Both, Zuri said. Home and Hands wants a shareable clip for new women. Kiara said, tell it. Record it so the next person doesn't have to start at 0. By 10 a.m., Root filled up. Carmen came early with her hair in a bun and a new sweater. Tanisha stood behind her, still holding the gold-repaired mug. 3 more women arrived, each carrying one old item, a broken chair, a cracked photo frame, a faded quilt. Zuri didn't stand on a stage. She leaned on the table and let everyone sit in a circle. Jalen set the camera in a corner with soft light. Ava laid wood samples, fabrics, and color boards in the middle like toys. "Hi, everyone," Zuri said, calm and clear. "Today isn't a design class. Today we practice looking at our home with new eyes, eyes that aren't scared." Carmen gave a shy smile. "Look again?" "I don't know. Every time I see my old kitchen corner, I remember dishes flying." Zuri nodded. "Then, well, start with a corner where nothing flies. From now on, each person picks one corner in your house or in your heart to remodel. Use paper, pencils, fabric, whatever is here. Just one rule. No one is allowed to say, 'I only deserve this.'" Soft laughter went around. Ava handed out blank room sheets with tiny window, lamp, and shelf stickers. Jalen filmed close-ups of their hands, sticking, drawing, erasing. While they worked, Zuri shared something Kiara once told her. Some men and some families think they can set up a home like a chessboard, who sits where, when to be quiet, when to speak. That's a kind of family betrayal you can't see right away. It hides in lines like, "I'll handle the money," "The house belongs to my parents," "You're lucky to be here." Today, we're not talking about them. We're drawing a new plan. Tanisha looked up. "What if the new plan still fears the dark?" Zuri smiled. "Then we turn on lights one by one, not the whole house at once. A stove light, a small desk lamp. Root can't heal everything, but we promise this. No one stands alone in a dark room with someone shouting." The circle went quiet, not tight and choking, but like a long breath. Mid-workshop, Zuri's phone buzzed. A text from Kiara. "Is greater than Dorian paid the last installment. File closed in the system. He sent a letter too. Want to read it?" Zuri looked at the screen a beat longer than needed. Her thumb hovered over open, then stopped. She replied, "Is greater than. Please scan and file it. I don't need his words to keep living." A minute later, Kiara sent and added, "Is greater than. Proud of you. Legal file closed, life file open." Zuri put the phone away and returned to the circle. Jalen noticed and quietly moved the camera to give her a private beat in the frame. In the afternoon, the workshop turned hands-on. They rearranged a small corner inside Root's studio itself. Ava recovered an old chair. Carmen raised the Begin Again sign higher. Tanisha placed her gold-repaired mug on a shelf at eye level. "Believe it or not," Zuri said, "these used to be trash in someone's life. Now they're proof. We don't have to throw away what broke. We can fix it a different way. Not to forget, but to define it again." A quiet woman in the corner finally spoke. "What if the people who betrayed you are blood? A husband, a mother-in-law, a brother, a sister?" The room paused. Zuri knew the question wasn't just for her. It was for everyone watching on the other side of the screen. She answered slowly. "Then we call it by its name. Family betrayal. Not every family has problems. Not be quiet so the house is peaceful. When we name it, we earn the right to build boundaries. Not to turn into stone, but to stop getting shattered." Jalen panned across faces. Carmen, Tanisha, the woman who asked. None perfect, but each with a strange, steady light, the light of people who walked through darkness and chose not to go back. By late day, the workshop ended. Everyone left with something. A new room sketch, a fabric swatch, a note they wrote to themselves. Root went still. Only the clocks tick-tock and the train outside. Ava packed tools and waved. "I'm off." Kensington's sight in the morning. Jalen lifted his bag, then paused at the door. "I'll leave the memory card here. Tomorrow, well, pull the best moments and cut a story clip. Sometimes what people need isn't a pretty house shot. It's a shot of someone saying, 'I've had enough.'" Zuri nodded. "Please save one frame for me." Tanisha's cracked mug on the shelf. The rest, let them pick their own scenes. When the door closed, Root was quiet. Afternoon light brushed the Root logo like golden kintsugi lines. Zuri sat and opened her notebook. She wrote, "I used to think silence kept a home calm. Turns out silence only matters when it stands with truth and stamped papers. The rest needs to be said not to make someone feel bad, but so I stop gagging myself." She paused and looked up at Jalen's black and white photo, a wet window, and inside, a chair pulled closer to the light. That night at home, Loretta set a hot bowl of rice and soup. "How was today?" she asked. "Good." Zuri smiled. "Here's my favorite part. Someone laughed in her new kitchen and didn't say sorry for the sound. Loretta nodded. Then the house has a roof starting. If the brick walls aren't steady yet, brace them with kindness to yourself first. After dinner, Zuri checked her laptop. Home and Hands emailed. Today's root footage goes live next week. They sent a link for her to share. Kiara messaged, is greater than... When the clip posts, tell people this. The path out of financial abuse doesn't start with a hero. It starts with a bank statement and one small decision in the kitchen. Zuri laughed. That was pure Kiara, no poetry, totally true. She opened a note and drafted a caption for the video. If you're listening somewhere in a narrow kitchen, a borrowed room, or a car parked outside someone else's house, hear this. There is no price worth your lifetime of silence inside your own home. If this story helps you feel less alone, tap subscribe so the next chapters can find you. If something doesn't fit yet, leave a comment. We do read them, and will shape the next story closer to your heart. If you still don't, like us after this, tap like anyway just once as a small sign that says, not perfect yet, but keep going, don't stop here. Thanks for staying to the last minute. More journeys are coming up. One might look like the home you're dreaming of. Drop by, you might meet a stronger version of yourself in the next video. She reread it. Solid. No sugarcoating, a touch of humor, and kind. Night settled. The city turned gray and soft. A far train faded. Zuri turned off the living room lights, leaving one small glow in the kitchen. On her way to bed, her hand brushed the drawer with the green USB. She didn't open it. She just felt it like a brick now set right in the foundation. Strong, no need to show off. Next morning, Zuri reached Root early to meet a new client. An email from a few days ago with only this line. Is greater than I need to fix a small apartment. I used to live in a big house. Can I get a private consult? No name. Just a phone number. Ava was on a job site. Jalen would come later. Root was bright and quiet. At exactly 10, the doorbell rang. Zuri looked up, and her heart paused half a beat. Outside the glass stood Gwendolyn Gwen Hale, hair neat, an older coat than the one from court, less jewelry, pulling a small, scuffed suitcase. Her eyes had no proud shine this time, only tiredness and a strange, unsure look. Zuri stepped out and opened the door. Cold wind slipped in with street smell. Gwen's lips moved. Hello, Miss Lane. I heard. You help people redesign. The parts that went wrong. Zuri stood still for a second. Behind her, Root's brick wall, the fresh logo, tenacious cracked mug on the shelf, the rainy window photo. In front of her, the woman who helped push her out of her old home, now pulling a history of mistakes through this small shop door. She breathed in and answered steady and clear. Root helps people redesign their spaces, Mrs. Hale. The rest. The owner has to decide how much to redesign herself. If you want a home that fits a real person, not the old pride, please come in and sit. If you just want to rebuild a fallen stage, this isn't the place. Gwen was silent, looking down at her worn shoes. Long seconds, like a bridge not yet built. Then she rolled the suitcase over the threshold and whispered, This time, I want a real home. The door swung shut, and the chime made one small sound. And you watching from wherever you are, if one day you pull an invisible suitcase full of old stories, remember, there can always be a root door for you, in the world or in your heart, waiting for you to step in and begin again. Maybe the next video on this channel will be the missing blueprint you need.